Those dogs just came running up to me and then started attacking me.
Tonight, a young girl is lucky to be alive after a brutal dog attack on a First Nation in northern Manitoba.
I think it was important just to learn my culture and just go in depth more.
A new culinary program to train Red River Métis for work in the tourism and hospitality sector.
It's always happened. It's happened for decades, if not since contact. It's always this idea of stealing. It's very much a theft, I think, and a fraud.
And we speak with Métis author Katharina Vermette about her latest book. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. There are calls for resignations after a 15-year-old youth from the Samson Cree Nation in Alberta died after a confrontation with RCMP officers this past Friday. APTN's Chris Stewart joins us from Edmonton. Chris, can you give us the latest?
RCMP in Wetaskiwin say they received a call just past midnight this past Friday. The caller told the RCMP that he was afraid for his life with people following him. According to the RCMP statement, an hour later, officers found the youth in possession of several weapons, which they confiscated. RCMP say a confrontation ensued, which resulted in two officers firing their guns at the youth. Officers used life-saving measures, but the young man died at a hospital. The youth has been identified as 15-year-old Haas Lightning from the nearby Samson Cree Nation. He had been listed as missing since August 7th. The Alberta RCMP statement says there will be an internal investigation into the incident, and the matter has also been given to the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, known as ASIRT. ASIRT says they are independent from police and government interference, and charges could be filed if their investigation concludes that criminal wrongdoing was done by officers involved in Haas Lightning's death. APTN will keep you informed on developments on this story. Back to you at the desk.
Meanwhile, Councillor Isaiah Swampy Omieso of the Samson Cree Nation is calling for a transparent investigation of the incident where the family and band leadership is kept aware of all developments. He's also calling for greater resources for mental health care and for the resignation of the RCMP officers who killed Haas Lightning. A vigil is also being organized. A young girl is happy to be alive after being attacked by 10 dogs in a First Nation in Manitoba. But others want justice for her severe injuries. Sav Jonesa has more.
That was my first time getting hurt like that.
Little 9-year-old Heavenly Monias is grateful to be alive after being attacked by 10 dogs while out for a walk in Norway House Cree Nation in Manitoba. She says she was with her family's female dog who was in heat.
Those dogs just came running up to me and then started attacking me. Then I started crying because I was scared if they would kill her, give me a lot of bites. But mostly there was just scratches instead of bites. There was only 2 bites.
Monia suffered serious injuries from the large dogs. Her cheek was ripped open from ear to mouth. Puncture wounds line one arm, and she has scratch marks throughout her body. A Good Samaritan stepped in and got Heavenly out of the tussle. She was medevaced almost 500 kilometers south to Winnipeg's Children's Hospital for care. After more than 2 weeks in the city, it's time to go home, but that poses another challenge.
I'm just scared to go back to Norway House because of those dogs.
Her grandmother, Lorraine Trout, is still upset at what happened. She wasn't at the scene of the attack, but remembers when she first saw her granddaughter at the nursing station.
And one of the nurses stopped me and said, "Prepare what you're going to see." I said, "Okay." And then when I seen her, the way she looked, I just started crying. And I was pissed off at the same time. And I'm still pissed off.
She says the response time of the ambulance attending the scene was slow. She says there was no siren, and it seemed the EMS were only driving the 50-kilometer speed limit. APTN News reached out to Shared Health, the provincial health authority, to see if this was normal. A Shared Health spokesperson states in part, "We confirm this call was triaged by the Medical Transportation Coordination Center as being a priority 1, the highest priority, and an ambulance arrived at the scene within 13 minutes of the call being received. This is well within provincial benchmarks and similar to median response times for high priority calls in that community." Lorraine says dog attacks are a growing issue in her community and that they still don't know who the dog's owners are. Councillor Dion Clark says the community has a band council resolution that they will destroy any dogs who threaten others. He says other changes are being made for community safety, like a bylaw enforcing owners to register their dogs.
We're also hiring our own animal control officer, and that's controlling, that's one person is the dogs, and we're also looking at the bear, any kind of animal issues. We're hiring that, and we're also ordering another building that will be able to house and take care of these animals that are captured and held in our kennels.
For the short term, Trout hopes something will be done with the dogs to give her granddaughter comfort coming home.
I hope they can at least take them away, catch them, and remove them from our house.
Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, Sav. The families of a motorcycle club in Alberta are mourning the loss of their loved ones after a deadly crash that happened over the weekend northwest of Edmonton. Last Saturday morning, just before noon, Fost RCMP responded to a crash involving multiple motorcycles and a semi near High Prairie and Sucker Creek First Nation on Highway 2. According to the RCMP, the semi crossed the center line and struck multiple motorcyclists traveling in the opposite direction, killing 2 and injuring 4 others. The Red River Motorcycle Club has identified the 2 victims as 38-year-old Laurent Isidore from Driftpile First Nation and 33-year-old Tyler Dubosky of Edmonton. The group were doing a charity ride that morning to raise money for the homeless. RCMP say alcohol is not believed to be a factor in the crash. The Yukon government has launched an independent review of a major equipment failure at Victoria Gold's Eagle Gold Mine site. The 3-person independent review board will investigate the June 24th incident that occurred near Mayo, Yukon, and equipment failure at the mine's heap leach facility. Say 4 million liters of cyanide solution leaked into nearby watersheds on the traditional territory of the First Nation Nacho-Nayaktan. The 3 board members are engineering experts Jean-Marie Conrad, Les Sawatsky, and Marky Smith. The review is expected to take 6 to 8 months to complete. Last week, the First Nation accused the government of excluding it from the review process. We'd like to hear what you think about this or any other story. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. You can read and watch our stories by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time to take a short break. Still to come, a crash course in the culinary arts for Métis youth. We'll see what's cooking with the Miyasin Michawin program.
The program is designed to help them prepare for employment and cover all the basics.
Welcome back. A new culinary program hopes to set Red River Métis youth up for success in the tourism and hospitality sector. Named after the Michif word for good food, the Miyasin Michawin program blends job preparation with cultural immersion. Reporter Sierra Bettens stopped by to see what was cooking.
It's just before the lunch rush at Bistro Notre Dame in Winnipeg. and a group of Métis youth are hard at work.
Yeah, I'm making influenza right now, and it smells very good already. And it has garlic, pumpkin seeds, some red peppers, and then onion in here. And
it's the final week of Miyasan Michowan. The free culinary program for Métis youth is led by bistro owner, Chef Dean Herkert. Over 8 weeks, the students are given a crash course in culinary arts, financial literacy, and employment skills.
The program is designed to help them prepare for employment and cover all the basics. And actually, I've seen the content, and actually the content is good for just about everybody in terms of prepping for employment in general.
The program is a partnership between the Manitoba Métis Federation, Red River College Polytechnic, and the Further Education Society. Students, like Malachi Colombe, spent the first week cooking in the college's kitchen.
We made like pemmican, bannock, and like all these traditional Métis dishes. I think it was important just to like learn my culture and like just go in depth more.
Later, students connected with their Métis culture at the Riel House National Historic Site.
When we went to the Louis Riel House, we like made bannock over a fire. We did some beading, and we did a tour of the house, and I feel like I learned a lot that day.
I've learned a lot more about culture and like with things with like dancing and like what's been going on with like Louis Riel, and a lot of different types of foods, like with pemmican and different ways to make bannock.
Herkert knows of 8 Indigenous-owned restaurants in Winnipeg, a jump from 0 a decade ago. According to a report by the Conference Board of Canada, the number of Indigenous-owned businesses in Manitoba more than doubled between 2019 and 2023. By training more Métis hospitality professionals, the program hopes to meet a growing demand.
To go from 0 to 8 and to look at the hospitality sector in general and not be able to identify 1/5 of the work population as being Indigenous, there's a gap to fill. There's certainly room for improvement there.
While not all the students are eyeing a career in culinary arts, the training is highly transferable.
We did our first aid training, we got our certificate, we did our food handlers, we're getting like communication, collaboration, skills.
I want to like get a, probably like a food job, and then also pay for like acting classes and just become an actor. So this will help a lot with like my certificates, getting a job.
As the first Miyasan Michowan class prepares to graduate, Herkert says this is just the start.
This first year it's a pilot with the Métis. Long term we would hope to be able to establish similar programs within Manitoba for the different First Nations that are here in the province.
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Good looking stuff. Well, pretendians, people faking an Indigenous identity, can cause pain and outrage within the Indigenous community. While strangers may feel the emotional repercussions, how might innocent family members be harmed in the fallout? Well, that's what Red River Métis author Katharina Vermette explores in her new book, Real Ones. A Governor General's Award-winning storyteller, Katharina joined us in studio on Friday to talk more about the book. Katharina, thanks so much for joining us here to talk about your new novel, Real Ones, which looks at how someone faking an Indigenous identity can affect others. Your story focuses on the issues within family dynamics. Can you tell us more about Real Ones?
Well, I really wanted to explore the idea around race shifting, particularly in its impact on us. Those of us who, through no fault of our own, get wrapped up into the story. In this case, it is a completely fictitious novel. It's a mother who's in a very deliberate way appropriating the stories from her daughter and from her ex-husband. And in that, I wanted to kind of get back to the effect it has on the family. Not necessarily the person and their actions. I wanted to come back to that, again, that emotional reality that I like to explore all the time, but the impact it had on them and get her taking up enough space out of the way
Well, a timely story indeed, as pretendians, as some people call them, are being exposed more often, something that we hear about all the time. What made you want to write about this phenomenon?
Phenomenon is right, hey? It's a really strange word, but it's kind of what it is. And I mean, it's always happened. It's happened for decades, if not since contact. It's always this idea of stealing. It's very much a theft, I think, and a fraud. I was really, I feel like we've been confronted by these issues, all of us, over and over. There always seems to be a different case. And every time there was always this surge of conversation that I had my opinions on, and I had my emotional reactivity to it. So that's where the novel started. It ended up, of course, that was a launching pad to so many other kind of, emotional realities that kind of get intertwined in this idea we have of identity and all of the implications therein. But it really started off as that, just kind of that reaction to, and grew from there.
Right. In your other novels, like the multi-award-winning story, The Break, you focus, like you say, on family trauma and reconciling. Why is this, or themes that you like to come back to?
Families are fascinating. Families of mama-daughter stuff is kind of where I live, just because I am a mother and parent, and I also, am a daughter and have been parented for lack of. And so the dynamics of how that, interacts with our lives, how much impact it has on us, I think is amazing. I don't like very easy good and bad. I don't like villains and perpetrators. I kind of like exploring all the building blocks that make individuals very individual, and we all are very individual. And I really like to talk about how families do that, and how, we can all be so very different from one another and so very much the same.
Yeah, a lot of nuances to family. So you were this is huge news, I think. You were recently appointed as a senior editor at Simon & Schuster Canada. Congrats, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
As a chief who has navigated the literary world for more than a decade, what do you think the significance is of an Indigenous person holding a position like this?
It's new for Simon & Schuster. It's not new for everyone else. I think we're slowly changing, and those of us who have, been lucky enough to get ahead in this business, for lack of a better word, we're all kind of just trudging along. But we are now in positions of being editors. There's a few of us in Canada, a few Indigenous folks living on that side of the literary world. I feel like we're all working together and all doing different things around, just kind of keeping our stories centered wherever possible.
Like you say, not the only place to do it, but certainly a pretty massive publisher to be doing such. As somebody who has been around the industry for a while, how have you seen it change to, reflect stories from Indigenous peoples?
Oh, hell. I mean, we can cut that, right? I think there's been a huge shift. My first book was published in 2012. And since then, particularly after all the appropriation controversy around 2015, I think there's been a huge shift in how many Indigenous authors are getting published all across the board, how many different Indigenous stories, and the diversity within Indigenous stories. Like, not only in our individual nations and cultures, there's so many differences, but in how we tell stories, how these individuals choose to tell their stories, what genre they choose to tell. Some of us are funny, some of us, more like me, a little bit too depressing, but we're all kind of, enwrapped in this conversation that I think is fascinating to watch.
Well, Katharina, fascinated to talk to you. Congrats on the new work and on the new gig as well. And thanks so much for taking some time for us.
Thank you, Marcy.
And The Real Ones is on bookshelves as of today. And a book launch will take place in Winnipeg at McNally Robinson 1 week from today. Coming up, a look at the First Nations firefighting competition in Saskatchewan. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And today's photo comes from Sab Jonesa this past weekend while out enjoying Lake Winnipeg in Manicotagan, Manitoba. Sab and their partner Phoenix created an intricate sand village out of different items they found on the beach. Looks pretty cool. Thanks for sharing, Sab. We want to see your summer pictures, whether out on a lake, exploring your community, or advancing your hobby. Send your pictures to share@aptn.ca to be featured on air. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 24 in Fredericton, 21 under the sun in Halifax. Showers and 17 in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 14 in Nain. 24 and sunny skies in Montreal, sun's out and 26 in Val-d'Or. 23 in Sault Ste. Marie, 25 for North Bay. 24 in Thunder Bay, cloudy and 25 in Sioux Lookout. Cloudy and 28 in God's Lake and Norway House. 26 in Winnipeg, 30 and cloudy in Dauphin. Sunny and 33 in Regina, 25 and sunny in Saskatoon. Cloudy and 19 in Meadow Lake, showers and 16 in Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, showers and 17 in High Level, cloudy and 17 for Fort Chipewyan. Cloudy and 23 in Edmonton, sunny skies and 27 in Lethbridge. 21 and sunny in Vancouver, sunny and 31 in Kamloops. 18 in Prince George, cloudy and 23 in Smithers. 14 with rain in Old Crow, cloudy and 16 in Whitehorse. 13 in Yellowknife, showers and 14 in Norman Wells. 6 in Sax Harbor, sunny and 10 in Paulatuck. 11 and sunny in Chesterfield and Whale Cove, 6 in Baker Lake. -1 in Resolute, +2 in Arctic Bay. First Nations from across Saskatchewan attended the annual First Nations Provincial Firefighting Competition held by the Saskatchewan First Nation Emergency Management in the city of Prince Albert. The two-day event began with the Structural Fire Training Day, where rescue experts trained First Nation volunteer firefighters life-saving skills and safety practices. On day 2, 7 teams from across the province competed, showcasing skills such as donut rolls, respirator use, and ladder placement. Fond du Lac Dene Suling Nation claimed the grand prize and will advance to nationals in Richmond, BC this October. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, you can, of course, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And be sure to join us here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for your first look at the day's news with Creason. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Stick around. An encore presentation of Face to Face is next with filmmaker Kelvin Redvers. Have a great night.